Number one. Number two.
Go to number 3.
Number three.
Oh, number 3 is terrible. Wait, go to number 3, but turn it around.
Number three.
Wow, that's ridiculous. Give me number 1 and number 2 again.
Number one.
Uh-huh.
Number two. Number
Not really
one.
noticing a difference.
Number two.
Huh.
Number one. Number two.
Let's go to number 1.
All right, this is number one.
That's the name of this episode. This is number 1.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick and Dal.
There we go. Are you transforming a transformer, by the way?
Maybe.
You totally hear it.
I'm sure. It's a lot of plastic.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm at a stopping point, so I'm going to put this down.
Okay.
Give you my full attention.
Wow. I don't think of it as you giving me your full attention. I think of you giving the listener your full attention.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
I say listener singular because there's one.
The one listener, yes.
No, that's not true. We actually had a bunch
My
of
mom.
people. Yeah. Hi, Dal's mom. We had several people mention that they listened to and liked the Heath Corson episode.
Excellent.
And they said it to him, so that made me feel even better.
Cool.
So I'm going to pretend that you're Dylan Horrocks. So if you
Okay.
could just do a New Zealand accent.
This is my best New Zealand accent.
All right. Can you tell me how much you like Flight of the Conchords?
Shrimp on the Barbie. Vegemite. Right? That's New Zealand.
No. No. You're a Kiwi.
Oh.
That's not offensive, is it?
We'll find out.
I don't think so because it's in a Flight of the Conchords song.
Okay.
That was my first ever exposure to Aziz Ansari, was as the racist fruit vendor from
As a guy who's mad at the Flight of the Conchords?
for being Australian.
Mhm.
Which of course they are not.
Correct.
So yeah, man, we got Dylan Horrocks coming up on the 30th of this
Yeah.
month, and I don't know how to properly convey our excitement because he may have never been to Chicago before.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I don't ever recall him being in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And dude lives in New Zealand, so for him to come to Chicago for this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, we're excited.
And we need to order more of his books.
Yeah, I hope that's a smart move on our part. I hope that we have a lot of books and a lot of people want to buy them.
That reminds me that while we got approval from Fantagraphics for the consignment order, and I sent it to our Diamond rep, I have not heard back.
Great.
So I'll have to follow up on that, but of course not until next week.
Sure.
This has been a strange week. All right, you're transforming again. I can hear it.
Yeah, I know.
Last week with Heath Corson, there was some weird... It sounded like he was jingling change the whole time.
Maybe.
And I'm sure he wasn't per se, but it was something, and I kept moving my microphone and adjusting levels to see if it was just some sort of weird feedback on my end, and I could not find any evidence of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a thing on your like sound dashboard for recording that you could maybe drop down the level of transforming, like that would help me a lot.
Why don't you give it your full attention like I do?
Look at that. Look at that part of the soundboard.
It says...
Look for the one that says Transformers, and then just
transforming is rude.
take that switch and just kind of switch it down.
No, rude. Just rude. I mean, I'm used to it,
Right.
but
I assume the listeners are used to it too at this point.
well, when you talk to your mom this weekend, you should ask her.
I'll be sure to bring it up.
That's a good plan. How excited are you for Dylan Horrocks?
Very excited. I've been a fan of his since I found Hicksville 15-something years ago, 16 years ago, I don't know how long. A while ago.
Who drew his Batgirl run?
I don't remember. Rick Leonardi, maybe some?
Yeah.
I know it was, I think it was James Jean Covers for some of it.
I do remember those.
Yeah, those are beautiful. I don't recall who was drawing those Batgirls.
Batgirl is his most mainstream work, and
I don't know. I mean, I think you can make the argument that some of the Tim Hunter stuff might be. I mean, Batgirl's a more well-known character overall, but I think his
Sure.
run on it is maybe less well-known than his Tim Hunter stuff was.
But I really, really enjoyed Sam Zabel and the Magic Pen.
Yeah, it was excellent.
And even though it came out a little while ago and we did okay with it, I think that there's a lot more people who would completely dig it. And I'm just really excited for his signing, but I want to make sure we reach the people that would benefit from seeing him.
Yeah, the sales potential of a book like that is interesting to me because it's something that I don't envy book publishers. You know what I mean? We're used to comics publishers where you launch a title and you've got a regular presence on the rack. You know, new issues coming out, new chapters coming out, new storylines. There's a cycle to the publicity. You can kind of keep it in people's uh,
Periphery.
sight, yeah, sight a lot longer. When you publish a book, any book, graphic novel or otherwise, for the most part, you've kind of got an initial window, and then it really has to like click with a reader base and get all the exposure it can right up front because you're not necessarily going to be able to revisit it in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, unless it's maybe part of a book series. But Sam Zabel really isn't.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in how publishers like more graphic novel specific publishers like Fantagraphics and Drawn and Quarterly um, manage that. Like that's really tricky, especially when it's not a known property and it's a creator that maybe doesn't do graphic novels as often. It's interesting to me like the whole idea of like Scott McCloud's The Sculptor.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Scott McCloud hadn't had a book out in years.
And it was good.
Yeah, I mean Sam Zabel's great, Sculptor was great, but yeah, it's interesting to me just the kind of publicity focus of something that is book oriented is something that we as retailers are not as used to. We order something and if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's fine. We move on to the next thing. But when you're the author or the publisher, you can't just move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and
That's
hopefully you want to have a back catalog item as much as possible with what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a novelist, you might do a book maybe every 2 years if you can really turn stuff around quickly. And that means that you kind of need that one book to sell for 2 years. And if it only sells for a month or a month and a half, that's big trouble for you and the publisher.
Speaking of book publishing, Book Expo America is in Chicago next May.
Cool.
Hopefully that'll give us an opportunity to peruse the guest list and see who's up for doing something locally while they're in town.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be very interesting.
Do you know when in May?
I don't. I'm sure I could look it up, but I don't.
I hope it's not Free Comic Book Day weekend. Or maybe I hope it is Free Comic Book Day weekend. I don't know.
Why not everything? This is weird that I cannot lower your volume coming through the computer speakers, even if I turn my speakers off.
I'm sorry.
And I put the earphones back in to see if that would cut it out, and it doesn't. It focuses the sound for me, but it doesn't. It's so weird.
Sorry.
I don't know what's happening.
I plugged a microphone into my computer and I started talking. I don't know what I could or should be doing differently.
Well, I think I could see where that could cause some trouble, but not all of it. I actually had a small sheet of notes I started taking last week, I think. And then right before we were recording, I'm like, I don't want to get it. It's all the way in my briefcase. But I did get it. And It's got so many things crossed off, including Coke totals and club member address additions that had been crossed off, and an address for a house in Oak Park that has the night sky and space painted on it.
Okay.
None of those things are things we're going to talk about, and I think we'll just talk about these briefly so I can throw this note away. Oh man. The first thing it's not even relevant anymore because we've moved it, but the Walking Dead Artist Edition that we were in, Basically, if you haven't seen it, it's the Image Comics version of an artist edition, but it's the full first issue, full size, 11 by 17, for only $20. It's got all the lettering in it. It doesn't have the tones.
It's just black and white line work.
Yeah, and it's not just the art. It's got the whole story. It's the whole issue.
Yeah.
Oversized. And because of its weird size and because it's stapled.
Yeah, it's only $20 instead of the hardcover edition $100 version that IDW usually does.
So now it's over with the artist editions on the bookshelves. But for the first 2 weeks we had it, we left it out on the front counter, and we didn't put any signage on it because we didn't think it was necessary. But the two most heard comments in regards to this book were, number one, is it a coloring book?
Mm-hmm.
Because adult coloring books are a big thing now.
I guess. I mean, it can be. There's nothing stopping you from coloring it if you buy it.
Literally any comic book you buy can be a coloring book.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it already has color in it, but, knock yourself out.
Yeah, you bought it.
Every issue of The Walking Dead is a coloring book.
Sure.
Is this free?
Yeah.
Why do you think that would be free, Dal?
Well, we do normally put giveaway comics and stuff, like if Marvel has preview stuff or DC has previews, or there's, for the month of the DCU books, there were the masks and promo posters and temporary tattoos and stuff. So in some people's mind, that's like the free counter. So if there's a giant book, well, that's probably free.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised at that too. I mean, somebody had explained it, not in those words specifically, but I could see where he was coming from, but I can't see why he would think that. Like, there's just context clues of, like, a thin 12 by 18 promo poster or a Marvel preview book that says Marvel Previews and free right on the cover. Those are things that you would assume are free. A gigantic Walking Dead black and white artist proof edition is not a thing I would just assume, like, I can just take this, right?
Well, you would think that. And I would think that. Not necessarily the case.
No, people said it a few times.
It's such a weird thing to have to explain. And I think that the people that were asking that ultimately realized or knew, but they just wanted to find out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you can say things like there's no dumb questions, but some questions are dumb. That was a dumb question.
I like to say there's no dumb questions, only dumb people.
No, I don't think these were dumb people. It's just, I don't know if it's like people just making weird assumptions or people wanting something for free.
I know. How often do you hear there's no price on this? It must be free.
Yeah. Or we've got decorative things in the store, like the wrestling figures on the top bookshelf, or the 6-gun guns that you made, or the Darth Vader and Stormtrooper that are in Sidekicks. And all the time we'll get, like, how much are those? How much is the Dalek up there? Like, it's just decorative. And there's this weird look on people's faces sometimes where they just can't comprehend, like, so not everything in the store is for sale? Like, no, some of it that's not within reach of customers is purely decorative. It exists as a decoration. That's it.
It's to enhance the visual experience of the store.
Yeah, it's something that might have personal significance or was given to us as a gift.
It's like in a clothing store and saying, wait, these racks? I can't buy this rack?
Yeah, weird stuff.
And so many people ask about the Superman and Batman Justice League figures, which they're so dirty. They're so beaten up and so dirty. And
yeah, they've been played with by kids for years.
Yeah.
Why would you want those?
But the number of people that say, well, how much are those? Like, those aren't for sale. Oh, I totally buy them. Yeah, and so would have 100 people. And even if they were for sale, we wouldn't have them anymore because we would have sold them years ago.
Yeah, I guarantee you whatever we would be charging for them, you can get them for less in better condition online. Just go on eBay. There was a guy who had come in a week or two ago, and he really wanted the Stormtrooper or Darth Vader. He's like, I just got a place, and I really want some decorations for it. I'm like, well, those are our decorations, but you can buy them at any store. You can buy them at Target. You can buy them at Toys R Us. You can buy them at Walmart. I mean, these are easy to find. You can buy them at Meijer. And it was just like, you can go to these stores right now and buy them. I don't know why you want to get these two that are right here that I told you are not for sale.
Because they're right there. That's why.
I guess, I mean, some of it just feels like the whole like, well, everything's got a price. Like, you're not the $1 million man. You know, it's okay for us to say this is not for sale.
What did we have? Man.
There was a dude who I almost got into an argument with
Yeah.
about the Cursed Pirate Girl.
Yep.
Sometimes, you know, there's a few things in the store that we have up, like a lot of the book plates and prints and stuff, where if it's been commissioned especially for us, we want to have one on display even after we've sold out, because we like being able to display our appreciation for some of the things that we've done and the artists who have contributed them for or with us. And so we had a Cursed Pirate Girl #1 from the Cursed Pirate Girl #1 party that we did with Tom McGovern and with Jeremy Bastian. And so we had that up on display, and there was a guy who was like, "How much is that?" And we did this thing we always said. We said, "Well, that's just for decoration. That's not for sale." And he was like, really like rolling up the sleeves, like, "Let's get down to business." No, how much is it? Like, it's not for sale, and that just seemed to like make him want to bargain more. Like, no, no, come on, how much is it? Like, it's not for sale. Like, I couldn't say it any other way because there's no other way to say it's not for sale. But this dude, it was like egging him on every time I said it's not for sale. Like, it's some sort of bizarre negotiating tactic. Like, I'm finally going to go, well, if I had to put a price on it, like, no, we don't do that. Like, if something's for sale, it's got a price on it. If it's not for sale, it doesn't have a price on it. Like, it's pretty straightforward.
And he was so aggravating, it wasn't even worth it to say $5,000.
Yeah, like, it was insulting to him that I wouldn't just tell him the price on it. Like, no, it's not for sale.
It was for sale once, and we bought it.
Yeah, that one's ours. That was from Jeremy Bastian and Tom McGovern. Like, that's not for sale. We're not selling that one. We sold 100 other ones 5 years ago. Like, they're done. This one's ours.
Speaking of wanting a thing immediately when you see it, right now, as we're recording this, it's the Cincinnati Comic-Con. I'm sorry, Cincy Comic-Con, not Cincinnati, Cincy Comic-Con. And Jeremy Bastian is debuting the Cursed Pirate Girl annual there, which is the first chapter of part 2 of Cursed Pirate Girl. And I know we're getting it. I know it's on order. I know it's going to come out in just a couple of weeks. But I'm so tempted to get a hold of one of our friends who's up there, like Luke Smarto, and say, hey, man, can you grab me one of those?
Yeah.
But I know we're going to get it. And I don't know if his is a different version or a special Cincy Comic-Con version or whatever.
Oh, I wonder.
But we're getting it in a few
definitely.
weeks. But we all have that, like, I can't wait aspect to it.
Yeah, there was a thing that happened recently where the new Star Wars movie is coming out like a day or two earlier in like the UK.
Yeah.
And without even checking, I guarantee you a few people are booking tickets because they don't want to wait. Like,
sure,
it means so much to them that they will fly to another country to see a movie a couple days early. I mean, that's the Force Friday stuff. Like, can you just go to the store and buy Star Wars toys? If not right this second, then they'll restock, and yeah, you can get them soon, but there's people who needed to get them that night.
Yep.
As soon as 12:01, as soon as they're available. And I mean, we've done midnight releases, so yeah, I mean, I understand the idea of I'm that excited about the new Scott Pilgrim book or the next issue of Saga or AVX or whatever. Like, I've gone and bought way back when I was younger. I went and got CDs the night they were available. I've downloaded stuff from iTunes at midnight when certain albums come up or movies come up. Like, I get it. I don't know that I would fly to another country to see a movie, but, you know.
But
we've all got our limits on our fandoms.
Yeah, and if there's a thing that is like a Transformer series that's coming out that you want and you find it in the stores before we get it, what are you apt to do?
I'm apt to do that thing where I buy them and then I buy them. But I'll give you an instance where I don't do that. The most recent Transformers cartoon, Robots in Disguise, will see its season 1 finale on September 12th. The whole series had concluded in other countries like 6 months ago. You can go on to torrent sites and download the entire season, and you could have done it back in the spring. I am watching it as they air in America, so I haven't seen any of that yet. I'll see it on September 12th when the season finale debuts on Cartoon Network, I think, in the United States.
You're not a fan.
I'll take it.
Absence makes the heart go fonder. Waiting, I don't know what it does. I don't care.
Fondness makes the absence longer.
Oh, in that case, everything is fond or...
That was from Los Campesinos. I didn't think of that.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
Credit where credit's due, Patrick.
Oh, wait. You know what? I was throwing this away, but there's a second line, which is also under the heading of annoying questions. When somebody walks in and immediately looks to sidekicks and turns back to us and says, "Oh, you expanded?"
Yeah, I get that.
That tells us they haven't been in the store in 5 years.
Yeah.
2010 that we did that.
Yeah, that was when it was the gallery first.
Yep.
But yeah, that's when I worked at a comic shop in Downers Grove. We'd moved across the street, and we were across the street for like 6 years, and we would get people wandering in. Oh, when did you guys move? 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's really, it's like the people that walk in and you say hello and they say, "Just browsing." It's the same thing as, you haven't been here in 5 years. So it's, on the one hand, it's good that they're excited, but on the other hand, it's really just letting us know that they are not a regular.
Yeah, I wish I could put a finger on why that whole, like, "Oh, you expanded" is annoying. I mean, people don't have to come in all the time, and if you only come in every 5 years, that's fine. Thanks for coming back. And it's just like the weird social version, or the comic shop version, or Challengers version, I guess, of, "Oh, you got a haircut."
Yeah.
It's like content-free conversation. It's like
Challengers, comics and content. Wait, no, that's not right.
It, like, when someone says, "Oh, you expanded," like, what am I going to say? No, we didn't. There's a wall there. Like, no, yes, we expanded. Like, why is that a thing that why does that require my presence, and why is it being said out loud? Like, it's like if someone walked in the door at 2 in the afternoon and went, "Oh, you're open." Like, yes, you walked in the door. Yes, we're open. I love all these pauses.
John Suntress posted a link to an article that is from Inside Radio, the most trusted news in radio.
Uh-huh.
And the headline is, "Why Podcasters Must Learn to Keep Time." And the point of this article, as written by, it's weird, there is a photo of the author, but his name isn't listed anywhere.
Is there anyone you recognize?
No.
Is it Barack
actually,
Obama?
honestly, it looks a little like Steve Jobs.
Maybe it's Steve Jobs.
I wonder. Although this was posted this morning, so I don't quite know. Steve Goldstein. You got to hover over his picture to get the name. So it's close to Steve Jobs. And his point is that just because you have a podcast with unlimited time doesn't mean you should go as long as you want to. And he quotes radio statistics that, let's see, I'm sorry, I found one, but then I saw a different quote that I wanted to look at. But basically, attrition rate is 40% in the first 7 minutes. Longer podcasts should expect that 2/3 of the audience will vacate somewhere between 20 and 60 minutes.
See, like, comparing radio to podcast to me is so apples and oranges. Like,
right, and that's the point we'll get to. But
okay.
Nielsen data shows that traditional radio time spent listening averages about 10 minutes from one item or one station. Yeah, until a crappy song comes on, or
you get out of the car.
Yeah. So he basically says the ideal podcast length is 25 minutes.
No.
Which equates to the average commute time for many listeners. The empirical evidence is overwhelming. The longer the podcast, the less chance there is for completion. And what were we always told? Because in the beginning of Contest of Challengers, our episodes were like 20 minutes.
Yeah, or less.
And what was our most common question?
Why aren't they longer?
Yeah, can't you make this longer? Or
yeah. again, I feel like comparing radio to podcast is a completely different thing because you can pause a podcast and come back to it later. Like the radio is going to keep going without you.
Yeah, and if it's a podcast, it's basically a built-in subject matter that you know about ahead of time, and radio can be all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like a podcast is like a book and the radio is like a magazine, you know? I don't expect to finish a book in one sitting. I'll come back to it in bits and pieces because I know that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to it. A radio station is like a magazine. I can read a part here, a part there, not all of it. Most of it won't be interesting to me anyway. Yeah, that's totally apples and oranges to me.
Yeah, but that was John's point was, Word Balloon episodes can be upwards of 3+ hours, and people listen to it and like that.
Yeah, there's podcasts where if it's an especially long episode, I will listen to it when I'm out walking multiple times over the week.
Sure.
I'll listen to...
You don't mean you'll listen to it over and over again. You mean it'll take...
No, like if I'm out Monday night for an hour or so, I'll listen to it when I'm walking. If I'm out Thursday, I'll listen to it for 40 minutes. Friday, I'll listen to it for another 30 minutes or whatever, like until I finish it. Yeah, that's a really bizarre comparison for someone to make. I think it's really misguided.
I think it's someone from radio trying to say, hey, radio's still the way to go over podcasts.
Yeah, maybe. It seems really counterintuitive, and whatever data he's bringing to bear on the subject, again, just feels completely, if not, like, not only is it not applicable, it's almost like antithetical to what is going on with podcasts.
I don't understand it, but we've only been doing this for, 6 years, so what do we know?
I wouldn't hold us up as the standard bearers of how to do a podcast, but okay.
Earlier podcasts, we did a lot of talking about how we are worried about October because of all the books coming out.
Yeah, plus ghosts.
Plus ghosts and evil spirits.
I can't stress it enough, Patrick. Ghosts.
I believe it's pronounced ghosts.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say anything that's not PC.
Okay. Have you gotten a chance to look at the FOCs that you'll be doing this weekend?
No, I usually don't look at them until I actually pull up the screen and start working on them.
All right. Well, if we actually have the money to pay for the bill for the October 7th week of business, it will be a miracle.
Well, I'll be honest with you. My goal every time I do final order cutoffs is to make the bill go down.
Right. Let me tell you what's coming out that day.
Okay.
This is the first week of the all-new, all-different Marvel.
Correct.
So there is Invincible Iron Man. Amazing Spider-Man. Old Man Logan. Avengers.
Yep. Avengers 0.
Doctor Strange. 4 Star Wars books. and the readjusted Secret Wars number 6.
Sure, why not?
That's not counting things like Paper Girls. A new issue of We Stand on Guard. Batman and Robin Eternal. Jughead.
Okay.
I mean, there's more Marvel books like Contest of Champions or Spider Island or Siege, the first weekly What If.
Sure.
But those
what
aren't
I'm hearing from you is that it is imperative that Gene Ha really deliver for our May book release party.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Gene, it's on you, buddy.
Without that, we can't. I mean, seriously, like this is like a $6,000 week.
Sure.
Not counting a reorder.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you understand the context to that, but that is...
I do.
I don't mean you.
Okay, but you said you.
Well, yeah, you listener.
Oh, okay.
Not you, Dal. See, you always have to talk like you're talking to one person, aside from me. I don't like it when I get mass emails from people that say, hey, guys, like, you're not talking to a room full of people. You're talking to one person. You're talking to me. You're talking to one person at a time. So I know I often say, hello, listeners, but it's really listener. And not jokingly because there's only one person listening, and that's your mom. It's because unless people are getting together in groups and listening to this, which I don't recommend.
I feel like the you guys thing never bothers me because it's an acknowledgement of this is a mass email. This is not me speaking directly to you, and while I could pretend I am, I'm not. So let's just acknowledge that there are many people reading the same message.
Well, so long as it's accepted, that's fine. I mean, this isn't
I
a
accept it. I don't know.
midnight Thursday, midnight Friday argument.
Sure. No, and I get it. Like if you've mentioned it to me before because I've used that in an email and you've been like, and you've laid out your exact reasons as stated why it shouldn't be you guys and it should be, to a specific person. And I've tried to take that on board when it's something that is representing the store, so I know that you're happy with it. But yeah, it doesn't bother me personally.
Okay. I appreciate your taking my thoughts into consideration.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Let's not
on the door too.
Let's not completely overstate the fact that October 7th is probably the biggest week of new comic releases we've ever been a part of.
Yeah, I'd be hard-pressed to think of something else. I mean, we've had large weeks, but...
And the majority of these books are $5 books.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man, $6.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Avengers Zero might also be... It's 5 or 6.
It's at least 5 or 6, yeah. Obviously,
it's like a 56-page book.
Secret Wars is going to be $5. Old Man Logan is probably $5.
Maybe. Some of that stuff is... I think Old Man Logan might be 4. But I could be wrong.
Man, I can't believe all these books are that same day.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Is that the Wednesday before New York? Is that why?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know when New York is for sure.
I think New York might be that week, maybe.
Huh. I really feel that this is a thing Marvel should look at and say, I know Secret Wars is super, super late. Let's hold it a week.
Yeah, I just don't... I don't think they feel that way. And I'll be honest with you, like, I don't know that I 100%... Even though it's on FOCs, I don't know that I 100% believe that all those books are going to ship that week. I mean, just because something's on final order cutoff does not mean it is the final order for it. We've had books be delayed week after week, so it's on final order cutoff for like 5 consecutive weeks. So you can only hope that some of this stuff will get pushed a week or two. Yeah, it's a scary-ass thing that they're going to be releasing that much product through so many different publishers. And again, like, just the Marvel list was sizable when you add in 2 different Brian K. Vaughan books. So I hate doing this because this is one of the things that's almost like an urban legend in comics retail is that Marvel specifically will release a bunch of product because retailers will order Marvel first and then spend whatever remaining budget they have on other publishers. And I've never really seen that personally, but now that I'm looking at that list of stuff, I'm thinking maybe we should trim our really exorbitant Paper Girls numbers down a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and maybe we could, like, in week 2 or week 3, bulk some of that up a little bit.
And I hate doing that because we want to get behind a book like Paper Girls way more than we want to get behind a lot of the all-new, all-different Marvel stuff. No offense to that product, but I think for our customers and what we like in the industry, Paper Girl speaks to that a lot more than the 1100th iteration of Iron Man and the Avengers and Spider-Man.
And Paper Girls is a book that's going to pay off for us bigger down the line and also in trade sales. These Marvel books are not going to pay off in trade sales.
Yeah, and the reason we would talk about trimming something like Paper Girls is because our initial order for Paper Girls was gigantic.
Gigantic. It was Saga #1 level.
Yeah, it's more than it's Saga #1. Yeah, I mean it's double what we ordered for issue 1 of We Stand on Guard.
Yes,
and it's probably an additional 50% more than we order for the average issue of Saga. So this is we were taking a stocking level of we want to have this first issue for a long time, like till the trade comes out. And I hate the idea of essentially punishing a company like Image and rewarding a company like Marvel when their Image is doing stuff that's helping us as a business and Marvel's kind of taking advantage of us. But I don't know another way to do it. Like, I don't know where else that money can come from without looking at the rest of the final order cutoffs. Honestly, one of the places we usually find a little bit of extra money in the budget is by trimming down DC stuff. And that's not trimming it like in a punitive way, like I hate these books, so we're going to order less. It's looking at previous issues and going, okay, we're getting stuck with this, so let's shave off a few copies here and there, and before you know it, you're $200 extra in your cap.
I'm just very cautious.
Sure, rightly so. It's a genuine concern. There is a lot of product coming out in October, and the money to order it has to come from somewhere, and that's not a limitless money. The expansion of an industry can't just be overnight. It has to be slow and steady to account for the growth of it. Like there's a reason why there's a lot of things for businesses where, if you're doing well and you want to move to the next level, it's not just a matter of like, well, I'll just move to that next level. Like you might need extra capital. You might need more investors. You might need, that's why people go on shows like Shark Tank. It's, how am I going to get to that next level? It's not my business is doing bad. It's my business is doing good, but to make it do better, I need more money. Like that's kind of what a lot of the October ordering is, I'm excited about all these books, but I literally cannot afford to order all of them at the level I would like to.
Yeah.
So I have to pick and choose. And that sucks because it's nice to have a lot of good books in your store, but us and probably a lot of other stores literally cannot afford to order what we would like to for all of these books. There's just not enough money in our pockets.
Yep. Or we just stop doing reorders. Nobody wants old stuff, right? No one wants
buys graphic novels, Patrick.
Yeah. No one has graphic novels this week.
I don't know. I mean, people are buying Saga 5.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. From the picture that I'd posted of the first box that I cut into on Wednesday when Gina Challengers came in today, she said, "That's all we have left?" Yeah, that's all we have left. I mean, we still have a large amount left, but
sure. Seeing
how big it was, and that was not even all of it.
The first purchase on Wednesday was a guy buying 2 copies of Saga Volume 5.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the people that walk in are like, oh, there it is. That's pretty great.
Yeah, people are excited about it. They've been excited about it for a while. Like, it is a genuine event when a new volume of Saga comes out. We get questions about it months in advance. People are super excited when it does ship. Yeah,
When's the next one come out?
It hasn't slowed down, which is amazing to me. Like, that's a book that just maintains its momentum. People still love it.
I don't want to name names or call anybody out to embarrass them, but there was a specific Challengers employee who, while they buy the singles of Saga, turns out was 5 issues behind when the trade came out. Had only read, 25. And the book goes up to 30.
Yeah.
But they caught up now. They're happy they caught up.
Well, good.
You're not even going to ask who it was.
Oh, I figured you'd tell me if you wanted to.
No. Well, I don't want to embarrass that person.
Okay.
It was Dal.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't?
You're a liar.
Okay.
I read that book before you do. Are you the person, Patrick?
So I want to talk about something that Gene Ha brought up today. Basically, I got a message from Gene Ha, and man, we got plenty of sirens coming into this episode, don't we?
Let me just mention that one of the things that's not intruding in the audio for this podcast, for this particular episode, is Riot Fest, because Riot Fest kindly moved farther east and south.
Kindly or disappointingly?
Well, it depends on if you're recording a podcast nearby Riot Fest or not.
It depends on who who's playing right now, I guess.
I guess. I was on the bus a bunch today, on the 49 bus, and there were a lot of people that were going to Riot Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I noticed anybody who's going to Riot Fest walking past the store, because I didn't think anybody walking north would be going to Riot Fest.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how people were planning on getting to and from Riot Fest. I assumed it would not be on Western Avenue, but there were indications actually at different bus shelters that the city was increasing the frequency of certain bus lines to accommodate Riot Fest.
Now,
and 49 was one of the bus lines.
I admit that I was at a concert last night at Martyrs, and I posted a short video from that because I was excited for people to see this band, the Chinese Professionals. However, I was completely annoyed by Facebook today because of the hundreds of posts about Riot Fest.
Yeah, one of the trips on the bus was next to 4 folks in their late 20s who were in from out of town and were attending Riot Fest, and one of them was bemoaning the fact that she only got 6 likes on a Riot Fest post she had and she felt it should have gotten way more. And one of her friends had informed her that, well, it was 10 in the morning, so maybe that's why. But she was like, this was a topic of conversation of why aren't people liking my social media post? And I thought, this is the worst conversation I'll ever have to overhear that isn't about Wicked and the Divine.
Well, it's actually leads right back into the Gene Ha thing, where, as I explained it to you, Gene Ha was posting a lot of updates on his marker commissions for his May Kickstarter rewards for people that donate to that level. And he was posting progress pictures and then finished versions. And he did a progress version of this double page one of Armored Up Rose Red fighting Armored Up Snow White with their sigils and things in the background from Fables.
Cool.
And then he posted a finished version of it, and he tagged the store in it specifically for the May release party that you had mentioned before, about October 2nd. And what he noticed was a thing that we've talked about before, but had no idea that it reached this far. When he just posted the pictures of the progress work and put it on his page, and he's got a Gene Ha page and then a Gene Ha artist page, the same way I've got a personal page and a store page.
Sure.
But most of his stuff just doubles. I don't do a lot of doubling from my personal page, but I do a lot of, or did a lot of Twitter doubling to the store page, or the store page would post also to Twitter. You're always trying to find that right social media balance.
Okay.
But the number of likes he got on the process piece versus the finished piece, it was night and day.
Yeah.
And it's because he tagged the store, and because the store is a business, and because Facebook wants to monetize our posts, they want to charge us for our posts. Even people who post things to our page, those won't get shown. The algorithm will block them, and they won't show up in anybody's feeds because it's promoting a business, and Facebook wants a cut of that business.
Yeah, why would they promote a business for free?
And we knew that they did that to our posts, but I didn't realize they did it to people that posted for us.
Yeah,
And it was such a difference in likes that it really stood out to Gene. And then he did basically a very long thread where he asked social media experts what can be done about this and what are the solutions to it. And he was very kind enough to tag me in it. So it's still an ongoing discussion, but after cutting and pasting and editing, I have over 2 pages of notes of things to do and social media plans and different platforms to use and just how to try to circumvent this.
Cool.
And one of the main answers is that the only way it's going to work is if you have a whole bunch of people trying to promote your feed. Like if we had, for lack of a better phrase, a street team, and all of these people would share our posts on their page. Okay. And then specifically not tagging us, or like copying and pasting and giving the information, but not putting in links to the events or not putting in links to our page. Because the more they share, the more the algorithm will say, oh, this is an active post and people care about this, then they'll let it through. But they won't do it if it has...
So if I was on Facebook, which I'm not, and I shared a link, like just as a fan, like if I said like, hey, Challengers is doing this event with Dylan Horrocks, and like I'm super excited about it, you should check it out, like he does a great book, and included a link to the Challengers event, it would get blocked.
It wouldn't get blocked, it'd get buried.
It would get buried.
Yeah.
If I just did a post that was pure text and said, I'm super excited about this Challengers event with Dylan Horrocks. It's coming up on, September.
Don't mention, like, Gene also thinks it's dates. Specific dates get blocked.
Really? So, like, if I just said, like, I'm excited about this event, that would get through. But if I said, I'm excited about this event on September 30th, it would be like, nope.
Yeah.
That's insane. How could you even share anything with people?
He's trying to work around it by partial abbreviation of months. Like instead of saying October or Oct, he puts Octo. to see if that gets through.
It's super insane.
Yeah.
Like, that just feels like the most cumbersome way of monetizing your interactions with people. Is that if I said I was going to a concert on a certain day, like, it would get buried. But if I said I'm going to a concert, like, everyone can know about it. Like, I don't want everyone to know that I'm going to a concert at some point. I want them to know the day I'm going because I want them to go too. Jesus Christ.
I wonder if it's the same for location tagging as opposed to page tagging. Like, if somebody were to, rather than say, like, let's say they want to mention the store and they link to the store page, what if they just, because there's a button you can put on your post that says, who were you with? You know, and I can say, I was with George Brower, I was with Mike Lee, I was with Challengers Comics. So I wonder if you could do that, if that's a workaround.
This sounds terrible.
Oh, for sure. And another bit of advice that somebody had given was creating events for non-location-based thing, like book releases. Not book release parties, but say, like, we would set an event for October 2nd to say Paper Girls is coming out October 2nd, but not say, hey, you know, we're not having an artist or anything, just like it's a thing that's coming out that day.
But would it be our event?
If you do it, no, I would have to do it on my page, not the store.
So then what, like, beyond advertising Paper Girls, how does that help us?
Hopefully people will know to come in to get it from us.
But that's the thing, like, we can't tell them to come get it from us. We just tell them Paper Girls is a thing that exists and you should read it.
Specifically, that advice was given to Gene, so that's a way to get...
Yeah, that's great for a publisher that's...
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you.
No, I know. I'm glad that people are giving Gene advice. I'm glad that he's able to hopefully find a way to reach more fans. It's just frustrating because it seems like every piece of advice is, we could never do that. Like, Facebook. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, what people have said is
start using Twitter and Instagram.
Instagram is the number one recommended social media from this feed.
Sure, it sounds like Facebook is just, man, like, they want every goddamn last dime. Like, no, this sounds horrible. Like, if all of the things are, people have to guess that you're a store, like, that's screwed up and I don't want to do it.
Based off of our Instagram activity, which is not huge, like, I post, I don't know, 1 or 2 or 3 things a month, maybe. My personal Facebook posts get a lot more traction than our Instagram posts.
Sure.
But our Instagram posts get a little bit more traction than our Facebook store posts.
Yeah, maybe we are one of those businesses that need a full-time and a part-time social media expert because, yeah, like, we've never been able to do well with stuff like Tumblr and Instagram where you need to be constantly posting because we're too goddamn busy and I'm too, I don't know, I don't like doing it.
The best we ever were on Facebook was when Delia was our Facebook poster.
Sure. I mean, you need somebody who's engaging with people and someone who, like, even for something like Tumblr where we were just doing a post a day, it felt, I don't know, boring and like it was irritating people. Like, I'm not sure, but I would hope it wasn't. But it would always feel like a nuisance to me. And like, that's Instagram is like, what am I doing? Am I taking a picture of a comic book on a counter and just sending that out? Like, who cares? Why is that interesting?
It's not for us to decide if it's interesting or not, I guess.
Right. And that's a hurdle I cannot get over is just, it feels so empty doing it. Like, it doesn't, because that's how I view that stuff. I don't look at Instagram as like, boy, I would spend hours just looking at people's Instagram feeds. No, I wouldn't. That sounds like a nightmare. Like, that sounds like something that you would do to get information out of me is make me look at someone's Instagram feed for an hour. And I would tell you whatever you'd want to know.
But none of this is your wheelhouse at all.
Right. And so that's why I wish I could be of more use on these things, but it gets under my skin in such a way that I just can't do it as a job. Like, it's just so opposite of how I view the world.
Yeah.
That I can't put myself in the mindset where I'm good at it, where I'm effective at it. I would never get to a point where I would enjoy it, but I just can't even get to the point of being any sort of help with it. Like, and that sucks. Like, that's a part of our job that I just had to fully abdicate. And like, I can't do this job.
I always remember when seeking advice a year or 2 years or so ago from fellow challengers, it was Kent Challenger who said, don't worry about bothering people on the internet. That's what the internet is for. Don't worry if it's annoying to them because they can just ignore it.
No, and that's true. I mean, you mentioned that before, and I think it's sound advice, but I just can't. I literally cannot get my head to be in a space where that feels like a valuable use of my time or anything that is not actively making the world a worse place. Like, even though I believe in the things that we do, when it comes to promoting them in that way, it's just like, and I've seen people that do that. I've seen stores that their Instagram is just every couple hours, like, here's a new thing we got in, here's a new graphic novel, here's a new comic book. And it's this stream, literally and figuratively, of just things from the store. And I guess that works. Maybe people like looking at that. I don't know.
We had somebody drop off a new consignment book today.
Mm-hmm.
DJ was the title of it, and it's the first consignment book I've seen where it comes with a free digital copy.
Okay, cool.
Like, he's got a little taped in, like the Marvel stickers, you got a little taped in code in the back of each book.
Yeah.
It's called DJ Comic Ambient, and it's funny because when he dropped it off, we don't have a space for this on the consignment form, but I always ask, hey, do you have a Twitter account? Because we will post about it and tag you. So he writes down his Twitter account, which is Cat Trigger. Yet when I posted it, it somehow autocorrected, not autocorrected, that's the wrong word, but it changed on different platforms because I sent it to everything. I sent it to Instagram, and from Instagram to Tumblr, to Twitter, to Facebook, to Flickr, to LinkedIn. Actually, that's not one of the ones you can do it to, but to something else. And it knew who he was and changed the address on different platforms to his other account names.
That's cool.
Which blew my mind.
Maybe he has the accounts linked somehow, like on different platforms.
Yeah, maybe.
Facebook knows what his Twitter account is. Twitter knows what his Instagram account is, and so forth.
I threw it up with a comment. DJ Comic Ambient by Cat Trigger is now available at Challengers, and I put that up on Instagram, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people liked it on Instagram.
Yay!
And did anybody? Nope, nothing on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, the people that like it on Instagram, because I don't know if they are fans of the store or fans of him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Our most liked Instagram post was my knuckle tattoos.
Oh, excellent.
At 98.
Good job.
Yeah, but I mean, 98 is nothing compared to changing your profile picture on Facebook, which gets like hundreds of likes.
Okay.
Which is weird, but that was one of the points of this thread. Somebody had said that literally changing your profile picture and your page header picture, because you are actively changing things on your account, Facebook really pushes those, and those are most people's highest liked things. I want to see if I can't scroll down and see how many people. Oh, I got 88 likes on Facebook, but that was the repost from Twitter. Okay, so Instagram is still I think it's the most. Twitter might have had more. I don't know. The point is, I don't have any idea on how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how we try, it doesn't matter. Maybe someone listening says, hey, I am a social media manager, and I think I have some great new ideas for challengers. Let me come show them to you, or let me take over, and I will only charge you comics.
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be lovely.
Alternate plan, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you and I can just, I'm sure you already have the Instagram app on your phone, and if I put it in mine, and we can both use the Challengers account.
I don't see why not.
Just start taking pictures of shit. Just, here's the thing I just read. Like, not even text, really. I mean, do you have to put text on it? Can you just take a photo of something?
I think you can post it without a comment, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just do that. People can figure it out. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess if we...
Yeah, good news, everybody. We're going to be a lot more active on Instagram in the next week or so.
Maybe I should have taken a picture last week when I read Hilo.
Maybe.
Hilo is the new Judd Winnick all ages book about a boy that falls to Earth, and the kid that he meets. It's kind of like a G-rated Barry Ween. For anybody who remembers Barry Ween.
I guess the people who remember Barry Ween are probably old enough to have children that can read Hilo, so there you
go. Maybe. But I really enjoyed Hilo a lot, and it was on the same week Hilo came out, and what was the other one I told you I read? Do you remember?
March,
yes. Keen Sue's March, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then was it also the same week as Space Dumplings, or was that right before it?
I feel like Space Dumplings was probably the week before.
Okay. But yeah, a lot of really great all ages books that came out, and
sure.
It's these are so long as they're available to us, which I don't know that they will be, but these books are perennials. These books are ones that I think we'll have all the time.
Yeah, I think Space Dumplings is probably the one that's most likely to stay in print.
We're also down just to 2 Space Dumplings at this point.
Well, we'll have to order some more then.
Yeah, it sold really well, and a lot of people are, it's Craig Thompson, and they just buy it because it's Craig Thompson.
Yeah, Space Dumplings and Battling Boy are two weird ones where I almost feel like we should have double racked it, because we had a bunch of people who are not buying it for children who are in their 20s and 30s who are like, yeah, do you have the new Paul Pope book? And it's like, yeah, it's in our kids section because it's for 12-year-olds, but yeah. Yes. And I mean, I read it too.
Sure.
And I'm not the target audience for either one of those books.
Yeah, but you personally, and me as well, read a lot of all ages books.
Yeah, but that's just the weird thing of like, we had to put Archie out in the other publishers section, despite it being an Archie comic book, which would 99% of the time end up in Sidekicks, because we knew the people who would, follow Fiona Staples' art would not go into Sidekicks looking for Archie, and they'd never even see it.
Right.
And that means that, yeah, I wonder if Space Dumplings is something where we could have already sold out of it had we put it in a different section, because people know that Craig Thompson has a new book, but they won't necessarily go looking for the Craig Thompson all ages book in the kids section.
Well, getting an extra couple of copies to rack it elsewhere is fine, so long as those copies come in before October 7th.
Yeah, well, they're not going to be this week because we are Labor Day billing for the reorder, so this week is going to be a little light.
Yay! We got the third box of the post-Labor Day reorder in today, and there was we got 2 boxes in. One box was the confirmed cancel
delayed items,
which is a single copy of an Aquaman trade.
Great.
The other box was also just a single box, but it had, a handful of, like, 2 pages worth of books. There were 2 shortages and 2 overages. One of the overages was infuriating to record. And I've complained about this to you personally, but not on this podcast yet, about how much effort it takes to tell Diamond they made a mistake and you just want to give the book back to them.
Yeah.
Just to be able to say, hey, I mean, we could lie. We could pretend we were just shorted and not overage anything.
Yeah, that was way easier.
We don't do that.
No.
But one of the books we got today was Superman Wonder Woman Volume 1 hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to go add that to the overages list, only it wasn't found in our system. And I thought, oh man, did we never carry this book? That's weird. Let me import it so I can add it to this list, because it just clearly can't find it in our system, so I have to pull it down from Diamond's system into our system so I could actually add it by the item code, because you can't just type things in. It's scanned. And if it doesn't have a corresponding item in your system, you can't say, hey, I got this extra, even though you have it in your hand and you have it extra, you can't tell Diamond that you have it because it's not in the system. So I go to import it, and then I go to log it back into the overage form, and it's still not coming up because it's flagged as an inactive item.
Great.
So I had to go unflag it, even though it says in our system, we have 0 copies, we want 0 copies. I still had to unflag it, and make it active again, just to tell them they sent us one by mistake. And now we're going to have to sit on this for a couple weeks until we get a call tag, because the other book that they overaged us was a very large, oversized hardcover, so they'll want these back. And so they're going to take up space, and then we're going to have to find boxes for them to pack them up, to send them back, just because they made mistakes.
Yep.
Earlier this week, instead of getting Legacy of Luther Strode number 3, instead we got 30 copies of the Action Comics Green Lantern 75th Anniversary variant cover.
Mm-hmm.
The quantities were right, but man, when you're pulling this, and I know you're pulling thousands and thousands of comics for millions of comics overall, but whoever's packing our box, they're not pulling everything for everyone. There's teams, there's many people, but they're, aside from them being the same shape, there's nothing similar about them.
No.
And I don't know how you make a mistake like that. And this is the second week in a row we got DC Green Lantern variant covers in place of another book.
I would assume that the way they're making these mistakes is that they don't have a list that has titles on it. They have a list that says, go to this place and grab this thing.
Stock numbers.
Yeah, go to this shelf in this unit.
They're probably trying to cut costs and save ink and save paper.
Yeah, so they're grabbing 30 copies of the thing that's in row X23
It just makes you wonder how the layout is for the books, because they're not close alphabetically.
No.
They're not close by publisher.
I would assume, and this is just an assumption, that brand new product is probably in a really specific section, because you're grabbing everything from there. And then you're grabbing additional, there's a reason the restock stuff usually is in an almost separate box all by itself.
Yeah.
That's because I'm sure the restock stuff is, I'm not sure. I assume the restock stuff is stuff they kind of have to grab from the warehouse, where all of this week's product, everything that would be on the new this week list on the Diamond website, is in one close to the front central area kind of place, because you're grabbing everything from there.
I remember years ago at a DC RRP meeting, it was set up so there would be a tour of the Diamond facility, because this one was in Baltimore or Baltimore-ish.
Right.
And at the same time, a discussion had broken out about returnability through the direct market. So they gave attendees a choice, you can either go on this scheduled tour of the Diamond plant, or stay here and talk about returnability. And the person I was there with opted to stay for the returnability discussion, so we didn't go see the Diamond plant. Now, granted, that was long enough ago that I'm sure the plants are completely different and the way things are packed are different and everything, but
sure.
I still would like to get a tour of one of these facilities just so I know what's going on.
Well, maybe go to the Baltimore Summit. Oh, wait.
I would, but we have a thing that day.
Sure.
Oh, it's Batman Day.
Is it Batman Day?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we do have a thing that day.
And that brings up another subject that I wanted to get to, how a lot of retailers are disappointed that DC is working with what they call the big box retailers to do specific variants for those stores for Batman Day.
Which, just the idea of there being a variant cover to a free comic is baffling to me. Not only that it would happen, but that anyone would request it and anyone else would be angry that they didn't get one.
But it's making them be other retailers. It's making them, by the way, this is siren number 3 in the background, if you can hear that.
Yeah.
Or 3 that I'm keeping track of. They're made.
Well, understand it is called Riot Fest.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Did you know that the local hospital tried to sue them into not performing because of potential disruption to hospital service and inconvenience to patients?
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, apparently the lawsuit was dropped a day or two ago, but they were here's their new home. And of course it rained most of the afternoon today because it's Riot Fest. What is Riot Fest? When it's dry, I guess, right. A thing that doesn't happen.
Or, I mean, really any festival
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Chicago.
That's so weird. They tried to sue it. It makes retailers feel like even though these events were created for the direct market and to enhance the direct market experience and to drive people to their local comic shop,
I don't know that any of that's true. Okay.
that DC is going out of their way to not help the local comic shop with this event.
Okay. Wow. So there was a similar, sort of similar. There was a retailer on the ICV2, which is Internal Correspondence version 2, a website that's specific to the comics retail community. It's a lot of media news and stuff, but they'll cover comic stuff more than they would anything else. But they had a talkback section where once they run a story on something, retailers will write in with rebuttal or their take on it or comments or questions. And ICV2 had run a story on how Walking Dead Compendium Volume 3 is going to have a different cover and like a fold out poster if you buy it from Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
I think it's Barnes and Noble.
Yes, it's Barnes and Noble.
And so anytime something like that happens, where if a retailer outside of the comics industry has exclusivity on anything, like a variant cover essentially, you're going to get retailers who are, how dare Kirkman do this? And doesn't he appreciate comics anymore? And he's a sellout and whatever. It's all that sort of, how dare he put them ahead of us? Like, we're the ones who made him huge. And it's like, I don't recall all of this. I don't imagine that I'm going to see a similar, how dare DC do this when DC has a bunch of variant covers for Dark Knight 3 #1 through 25 different retailers.
Yeah.
I can't get those. How could they do that? Like the same way they always do. Someone goes to them, anyone who goes to them and says, I will pay you this much money for an exclusive thing, can get an exclusive thing. There's not a price tag, it's a negotiation. But I guarantee you, Barnes and Noble went to Skybound and negotiated and said, okay, this book, we sold a lot of the last two, and we want to become a destination for people to pick up the third one. How many copies do we have to order from you at how much per copy to obtain an exclusive cover, something else? And what can we get exclusive? Let's work together. Like, that's how these things always work. I would be floored if Kirkman had, deviously decided, like, I gotta find some way to pull sales away from comic shops and I love Barnes and Noble so much. Like, no, he's not. It's someone came to him and made him an offer and he was a businessman and he negotiated, and there you go. The book's the same. It's got a different cover, but that idea, the cover being different, is only a valuable idea because the comics industry has spent the last 10 years making it a valuable idea. Like, this is the monkey paw situation of variant covers. Well, good news. You made everyone aware of the fact that variant covers matter and are expensive and can go for more money and are an important thing for someone to have. So, yeah, genius. Other stores figured it out. Like, that's not a secret. It's not a surprise. You spent 10 years informing Marvel and DC Comics that they should do variant covers because you will buy them. And if you'll buy them, so will all of these other accounts.
But no, that DC hates us.
They don't. They're a business, and they're a business that, like, not to pull one out of the mothballs, but they learned it from watching you. Yeah, oh my God, all these stories. And all of this, so much of this comic shop, they don't respect us as a market stuff, is basically, but I want to do it too.
Right.
Like,
if I can't do it, they shouldn't get to.
Yeah, so many of the people who were complaining about this, I feel like they would be placated if it was just like, fine, here's 50 copies for you. Okay, great, we're done. There was long ago, Marvel Comics was having huge success with the start of the Ultimate brand, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men. They were having such huge success with it in the comics market that they decided they would try and take these properties that were designed for mass audiences and package them in a way where they could sell them at bookstores. Bookstores at the time weren't really carrying much in the way of single-issue comics. So they designed a magazine version of the Ultimate Marvel comics, where they would take an issue of Ultimate Spider-Man and an issue of Ultimate X-Men, do them in a little bigger format, bind them together, and bookstores could display them on magazine racks at a time where, and this is how long ago it was, magazines were things people still bought and bookstores still sold a lot of. So placement on the magazine rack was a pretty high trafficked area. Comics retailers flipped out. Why are you making this just for bookstores? Why isn't it offered to us? And Marvel had said, well, because you already have these books. This format is just for bookstores. Like, it's designed for them. Retailers were furious. No, you have to offer it to us too. You didn't even give us a chance to order it. So Marvel finally caved and said, fine. And they offered it through Diamond. And you know what? It didn't sell because that product was not designed for comic shops. And comic stores already had it. And comic customers didn't care. They didn't need it in a magazine format months after those books had come out. But it was just like the principle of like, no, you have to offer it to us. Like, no, we don't. Like, it's not for you. It's for somebody else. You're still going to, like, for this Batman comic, you're still going to get your super cheap giveaway Batman comic. It will have a different cover. And the covers they've shown are old covers. They're not new covers.
Nope.
Like, one of the Hastings, maybe, is Batman Eternal #1. Not Batman and Robin Eternal, but Batman Eternal from over a year ago. Like, who cares? It's a free comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God. The idea that comics retailers are upset about that, I feel like every time comic stores do that sort of thing, when they raise a fuss, when they do their angry Facebook posts about how a publisher doesn't respect them because they didn't do some stupid thing, comics publishers have like a chart of like bookstores and comic shops, and bookstores moves up one and comic shops moves down one. Like, if you want to know why if comics publishers are not taking you seriously as a revenue stream, that's why. Because these things are easy to figure out, and you're not figuring them out. Oh my God. And all the time with this, every single time, like, the weird inferiority complex of, like, as soon as, you know, DC's looking at another guy, comic shops get super jealous. Like, oh, you just want to go be with him. No. You got eyeballs in your head, and you're looking around and whatever. But no, oh my God, how dare you? We're done.
Yep.
Yeah, just, every time, Patrick, every single time. Like clockwork.
Don't worry, we will revisit this entire thread, this entire conversation as we get closer to local comic shop day.
Yeah, do you ever read Tilting at Windmills, the Hibbs column on CBR?
When somebody links to it, but I don't go out of my way to find it on my own.
Well, he has a new one up, and it covers two topics. The first one is how he doesn't think Dark Knight 3 is going to do well, and it's largely in the scale of how many crazy-ass variants and how many extra copies you have. Like, if you did the 1 in 500 cover, like, not even the crazy-ass Jim Lee cover.
Yeah.
Like, if you then bought all of the corresponding variants that you've qualified for, because you have to buy them, they don't just give them to you.
Right.
Even, like, if you bumped your numbers to get to 500, you would then be bumping your orders like another 89 copies in the amount of variants that you'll have also bought. So he talks a bit about that, and it's interesting. And it's, I think on the same day, day or two, where DC's announced the 25 different stores that are going to be doing store-exclusive variants.
Yeah.
And the first few covers that are going to be exclusive. When they'd shown us the Dave Johnson one, we assumed that was the store-exclusive variant.
Yeah.
That's a store-exclusive variant. Each store will have its own exclusive cover. Like, there's a Dave Johnson, but there's a Jay Lee, there's a Raphael Albuquerque, there's a Sean Murphy.
Okay, I did not realize that.
Yeah, there's a breakdown of the stores that are doing it. Like, of course, Midtown's doing two different ones. Adam Hughes, I think Adam Hughes no, J. Scott Campbell is doing one for his own website, like the Alex Ross Star Wars cover.
Sure.
So that's like 2/3 of the column is talking about Dark Knight 3.
Okay.
And then a third of the column is talking about local comic shop day, and he's completely against it for every reason you can think of. That it's focused on variance and scarcity and collectability, and that's not really the best way forward for the comics industry.
Correct.
He's against the fee that's being charged and how it's penalizing stores that aren't in Comics Pro. I don't agree with that one. We talked about it before. I don't agree with his stance, I should say. I don't like that Comics Pro is charging money to administrate. And then he also mentioned, and this is something I hadn't heard, so I don't know if we just missed it every time we got correspondence about it, that one of the other things that might happen on local comic shop day is not necessarily exclusive merchandise like a variant cover to Back to the Future, but it might be merchandise that would ship the following Wednesday, but being able to be sold
Early.
the Saturday before.
Okay.
Which I guess that could be valuable to some people. I can see why it maybe is. The idea of it could be frustrating to stores that don't feel like they want to participate. It's such a weird idea to me. It really depends on what the product is. Like if it was, I'm trying to think of what it could even be, like Secret Wars 7. I mean, I've never really seen the whole idea like of if stores are selling stuff on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Like we would never do that. But if a store was doing it, I wouldn't feel like we were completely kneecapped, you know? Like
Right.
I can't see it being that big a deal, but maybe it is. I don't know. So maybe the Saturday thing will be a huge thing to drive traffic to stores, but I kind of don't see it. You'd really have to promote, hey, you can come get this Saturday. I don't know if people will make an extra trip for most things.
Yeah, only if it's a new Scott Pilgrim or the relaunch of the DC Universe.
Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to look at anything that's shipping late November and say, well, people would definitely come out for that 4 days early.
I do at one point want to do another midnight release party, but it has to be a book that merits it, you know?
Yeah, we've tried it a few times, and one or two has actually worked.
Yeah.
I think two.
Yeah, the Scott Pilgrim and
Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We did it for AVX, and we had gone in on some of the like party variants, and we're selling them at cover price, of course.
Right.
So that did okay. I want to say we did the Walking Dead one. That did not great.
Did we do a Saga one?
We did. We pushed for Saga 13.
Yeah. Okay.
And no one cared.
Well, no, we had a handful of people because we had the.
But we had less than a half dozen people.
No, we had less than a dozen people. Like because you had the quiz that you wrote, that people took.
Yeah, there were
like
people there for that.
Yeah, there were like 6 people taking it and other onlookers.
I really don't think there were that many people. I'd say maybe 10.
Okay.
Which is not. I mean, it's not worth doing it for 10 people.
No, I agree, but I don't think it was Siren 4. Everybody, Siren number 4.
There was a point today where it, honest to God, did not sound like they were moving at all. Like it was just like a siren factory opened up a block over.
Wow.
I couldn't. They weren't moving closer or further away. Like it was just parked, running at siren.
Yeah, this one's getting closer though.
Yay!
It should be getting further away. It should be going to Riot Fest.
Riot Fest. Maybe it's going to the hospital from Riot Fest.
All right. Well, you're giving me a pretty great segue, and I don't know if "great's" the right word, but I want to mention Bob Wyasek. Although I believe I called him Bob Wyacek.
I think we all did.
And I was going to build up to the Power Pack Inker part, but go ahead.
No, that's his claim to fame, Power Pack Inker.
Some people might say other things like X Factor or Uncanny X-Men, Star Wars, Sensational She-Hulk, Iron Man.
The movie?
No.
Was he Happy Hogan?
No.
Okay.
Anyway, Bob Wyacek has had a long career starting in the mid-'70s. And he's still active today, but he got hurt. And he's currently behind on projects because he has an arm injury and he's fallen behind on stuff. So there's a GoFundMe campaign for Bob Wyacek. And I just wanted to point out that it's a thing because he's a guy who I have a ton of his books in my collection. He's also the Power Pack Inker, I've heard.
It's been said.
It's been said. So if anybody, and we challengers will be definitely donating to this.
Cool.
But if you just go to GoFundMe.com and search Bob Wyacek, that's Wiacek, I'm sure you'll find it because the actual link is, GoFundMe.com/ZR3AP9XJ. And that's not easy to say or to remember. So just if you're interested in helping out, you can just search by his name. Bob's done a lot of great work, and was one of the first inkers I remember remembering as an inker.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Best of luck, Bob, in a speedy recovery.
Yeah, Bob.
Anything you want to talk about that you read this week? Anything that any graphic novels you covered?
No, I'm super behind on stuff. I've been building furniture for like 7 days.
That's true.
We can talk about Dragon Age Inquisition, the Trespasser DLC. It was huge.
All right, so thanks for listening, everybody.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 North Western Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago, 773-278-0155. You can visit Challengers on the web at challengerscomics.com. You can direct email to challengers@challengerscomics.com. You can become a fan on Facebook at facebook.com/challengerscomics. And you can follow Challengers on Twitter at twitter.com/challengers.
Come on, that's a funny way to cut that off.
No, I figured that was going to happen.
I was going to do the, we're out of time. Thanks, everybody, but,
radio data said that we should not talk about that.
We gotta cut this. We gotta cut this off.
Uh-huh.
People, we're down to 20% of our people listening.